Hey guys, welcome back to Delving into the Cold. This is Dee. I'm sorry if I sound a little sniffly or a little congested. I've been sick for about a week, but I wanted to get this case out, and it's one that was voted on my social media, so we're just going to go ahead and get into it. It's the case of who put Bella down the witch elm. Now, this occurred on April the 18th, 1943 in Woods, which are in Worcestershire, England. And if you'll take a look at the date, 1943 was about right in the middle of World War II. And so on this particular day, 4 teenage boys were messing around in the woods, and one of them ended up climbing an old witch elm tree, and when he looked inside, the tree was hollow, by the way. When he looked inside, he saw a human skull. And now the boys took an oath. They said they would never tell anybody, and they moved on. Well, fortunately, one of the boys, in fact, the youngest boy, had to clear his conscience. He just could not deal with it. So he told his father, and his father contacted the police, and the police got there and they found even more remains in the tree. Now, pathologist James Webster concluded that the skeletal remains were of a woman who was approximately 35 to 40 years old and who had been dead for about 18 months. He also concluded, by looking at the body and the state that it was in, that she had been placed in the tree shortly after her death. He determined cause of death as asphyxiation, and this was evidenced by a piece of cloth that was stuffed down her throat. Now, one of her hands had been taken off and moved away from the body to the base of the tree. So it wasn't with the body when they found it, which was suspicious and will lend itself to theories that we'll talk about in a few minutes. The remains were found with labelless clothes. They didn't have any labels in them, no name tags, nothing. Well-worn shoes and a gold wedding ring. The body itself lended the most clues. Unfortunately, those clues turned out to be pretty fruitless. And, it did lend the body lended its, either way, the body, let, the coroner know what she would most likely have looked like. And he determined she would have been small, with mousy colored hair, and her front teeth would have been messed up. She would have been around 5 feet tall, so extremely short, and she had given birth at some point in her life. Now, due to her teeth being so distinctive, police contacted, every dentist that they could find. And unfortunately, they didn't have any luck finding her dentist or her identity. And, so again, while that was the most evidence they had that came from the body, it didn't really help them. Now, shortly after the discovery of the body, graffiti started popping up all over England. And the question, who put Bella down the witch elm, was what was graffitied. They would write it everywhere, on gravestones, on walls, on fences, wherever they could get it. And it seemed to the police to be a cry of attention to the case. And if you think about it, this was a case that happened in the middle of World War II. It wasn't exactly the highest priority. And I think that the graffiti was probably a way of bringing more attention to the case. And of course, the police, they chased lead after lead to try to find who did the graffiti, and they could never find who it was. In the original graffiti, the most popular graffiti that's noted just has who put Bella down the witch elm. But the original graffiti had the victim's name as Blue Bella. And so this led the police to believe that whoever was writing the graffiti had intimate details of the case. They believed that the artist knew something that they weren't telling police, and they really wanted to talk to them, but unfortunately they were never found. Now, as I said, the hand itself not being attached to the rest of the body has led to support for some theories. And one in particular is that Bella was killed as a sacrifice to the black arts. And it was a popular theory for a long time after the murder, because people believed that removing her hand was part of a black magic ritual. And so, that's one theory. Another very popular theory, and one that I believe has a lot of credence, is that Bella was a Nazi spy, or that she was associated with Nazi spies, and that she had been murdered because of this. And this theory is proposed by a woman who called herself Anna, who sent a letter to journalist Wilfred Byford Jones. And the letter said, and I quote, "Finish your articles, re the Wych Elm crime by all means. They are interesting to your readers, but you will never solve the mystery. The one person who could give the answer is now beyond the jurisdiction of earthly courts. The affair is closed and involves no witches, black magic, or moonlit rites." End quote. And the famous quote-unquote Anna was eventually identified as Una Mossop. Now, Mossop claimed that her husband had been a paid informant for the Nazis and that he had witnessed Bella's death. And he even claimed to have helped put her in the tree. But they could never confirm all of her accounts. But 15 years after this, Donald McCormick built on this theory and claimed to have obtained evidence from the German military. And he claimed that a Nazi agent who lived in the area at the time, there was a Nazi agent who lived in the area at the time and had a girlfriend named Clarabella Dronkers. Now, the agent's last name was Lahar, and he and Clarabella lived not far from Hagley Woods, where the body was discovered. Apparently, Clarabella was close to 30 years old and had crooked teeth, like Bella. Interestingly enough, there was a spy by the name of Johann Marinus Dronkers who was captured and executed in 1942. So a relation to Bella is possible there, but I would like to caution you and remind you that stories like this one that have anything to do with Nazis or spies are highly sensationalized. And so a lot of what people pass off as fact should probably be taken with a grain of salt. While it's entirely possible that Bella could have been Clarabella Dronkers, a spy herself, or associated with one, it's also possible that she wasn't. It's possible that she was just, an innocent victim who ran upon the wrong person at the wrong time. Now, out of these theories, again, the spy theory is the most believable to me. Doesn't mean that I'm going to jump on the bandwagon and say, oh, she was definitely a spy, but it does make sense. But just remember, spy or not, innocent or guilty, Nazi or ally, Bella was a human being, and she deserves justice, and I hope that one day she gets it. And I think that were the case to be opened today with the evidence that was found on the body, maybe more leads could be found. I don't know when the most recent time this case had been worked on was, but I definitely think that it'd be worth it to open it back up. Alright guys, that's all I've got for today. Stay safe, stay curious, and I'll see you next time.